This is the final video in this series on the America of 1851. Of course, there are two models. The first one is the actual kit, the Constructo kit, which was built from the repaired parts, and the second one was a scratch-built boat built using the model as my template and making all the parts. I will make my research notes available to anybody on a personal basis. Simply use the email address at the end of this video and I will respond to you. The Constructo kit follows the instructions exactly. The deck layout is exactly the same. The sails are made of cloth, which is supplied by the kit. In the scratch-built boat, we used silk span sails, and it was my first time in building a full set of silk span sails, and there are quite a few errors. I had to make the fore gaff sail twice and the gaff topsail 3 times, and then you can certainly see an improvement in the skill from when I made this and laid it out to when I finally did build the silk span sails. And the deck layout is my best guess of what the ship would have looked like when she was racing in England. Now, for those of you who have followed the build, you'll realize that there were no definite plans that survived the ship, and so even though the structure and hull shape is 100% accurate, nobody is 100% sure of what the deck layout was. The boat as she was laid out for racing would have been very different as how she was used in the years that followed the race in England. So that the deck configuration would have changed over time. Remembering that she was made as a racing boat though, things like a grating that you would have seen on the kit certainly would not have been there on the first version of the boat. The very act of racing would have required the movement of sails up and down through a forward hatch, and so the front staysail would have been going up and down. Maybe they would have gone to a bigger size or a smaller size, and they would have needed access through the bow of the boat. And I'm suggesting that this was actually added right in the beginning, because for those of you who race boats know that this is really a critical part of racing. So that's why I decided that I would follow this template. The kit also did not show any lifeboats, and so I had a lot of fun and quite a steep learning curve learning how to build these little monsters. And I sometimes think that the recognition to get something this small and this almost perfect really is as challenging as building the large model itself. There are no davits shown on my boat, and there are no davits shown on many of the paintings that I've seen, and I think they would have used the vang pendant here to lift the boat on and off, very much as is done today with dinghies on sailing boats. In the case of the Constructo kit, their suggestion was that there was a hatch grating used on the boat. This is contrary to what my belief would be on the boat that went to England to race. So my view is that this mid-companionway or deck house would have been much more probable. In terms of the ropes, I've shown both ropes and chain coming through to the windlass. Even when there's chain used on the boat as there is here on the anchors, it would have been attached to a rope. And these windlass, although they had the ability to pull chain, they really would have been used to pull rope. There was a davit used to lift the anchor, and there's one on either side of the windlass. Those of you who followed my log I had trouble trying to figure out how this arrangement was made for the flag, and it didn't take too long to figure it out. And it's just the halyard used to pull the flag up and down. Also not shown is the back flag, which again had a separate halyard off the boom, shown here. Tom Laurier has a very instructive video on how to coil ropes, and I was quite pleased, even with my slight modification to his, and hopefully he approves of my method. And there's another video on YouTube, I think it's by a gentleman called Smith, I can't really remember, that shows you how to make these deck coils. I also added in 2 reefing lines. There are 3 reefing line spots, but I've only added in 2 for the sake of the model. And these are the reefing points or reefing lines that, again, I was looking for a technique to show me how to do this, and I had to learn from the School of Hard Knocks, but it's covered in a previous video, so I won't really go through it in any detail. For the control of the main sheet, we had this main tackle gear here. At the top there was a 3-sheave block, and at the bottom a 2-sheave block with single blocks on either side. And that would allow the control by the sailors to operate the main on either side and still having the full purchases that the tackle would give it. On the jib you had this reefing line which went from the top to the middle, and that would allow that when the sail was being pulled down, it would pull it down to this point, and then it would be wrapped along the boom and along the front stay. I've got the glass case all made up for the Constructo kit model. I'm just waiting on the baseboard to come in and mount. This is just the temporary board. And I'm going to make a mahogany case for the scratch-built boat, which I will keep in my Tobago vacation home. So I hope you found these videos interesting. Certainly it's been a learning process. Every time I build another boat, I learn something new. Coppering, it's the first time I've coppered a boat, and this is the first time I've made sails using silk span. So my suggestion to you is don't be afraid. I was very intimidated on both these exercises, but they really are quite easy to do once you understand the techniques. So keep modeling, and I'm returning to my swan. See you in my next series.